Okay, welcome back, everybody. Crypto Hulk is here. We got Caleb Brown, and we're going to answer questions today because there's some new people had some questions on how Caleb Brown's policies work, percentages maybe, or what's the fees. Does it cost money to put your crypto into Caleb Brown and take it out, or just general basic questions? We're going to start off with that because there's been a lot of new members that joined, and there's a lot of questions, and people are like, "Oh, is they don't know anything about Fireblocks, or like, is that a good crypto custody agent to work with?" So we're gonna start the show off with that, answering questions for brand new people. We've had a lot of brand new members. You guys have made some great decisions in joining Caleb and Brown. They utilize Fireblocks, and we're going to talk about some of these things. We got an open question. We haven't had Caleb Brown for what, 3 weeks or something kind of like that. We went to Las Vegas, and that was supposed to be, now it's about 3 weeks, I think, since our last show. So now is your chance. Whatever questions, if you've been trying to get a hold of Caleb Brown to get these people like, yeah, I can't get a hold of anybody or whatever, here is your chance. Okay. So if you have questions, concerns, or whatever, I've got a lot of people that joined, and that's a smart decision. And the reason I'm going to start off the show with this is crypto regulation is coming. We are seeing all these banks, these financial institutions, fintechs coming up with stable coins. Like there was ones called Coins PH in the Philippines. They're going to everybody's launching a stable coin, or they're getting set up. And I'm telling you what, they're getting set up because why? They know crypto laws are coming. And when the crypto laws show up, this whole crypto space is going to be different and regulated and organized. And I'm telling you what, there might be some good with that, and there's going to be some bad. Okay. Um, I think it's imperative you get an account with Caleb Brown, use my link. Okay. Because let's say down the road, the governments might say, hey, no more new customers. Oh, this is institutional customers only. We don't know where all this goes. My thing is this: sign up right now, get your account, fund it, make at least like one trade. Because you know what they're doing in California? If a certain amount of time goes by and you don't make a trade, they seize your crypto, and you got to prove to them that it's yours and all these things. Then we got Spain. Spain's trying to do all these things. It's something is coming with regulations. My belief is this: get in, sign up, do at least one trade minimum. You have to look, your account has to look like it's being used. If they make the new crypto laws and all you did is sign up, but you never transferred any crypto, you never did nothing, that's not a customer, probably according to the eyes of the law. A customer is when you use a service, right? You've got to show you're a customer. It's like, because I'm telling you what, if they pass laws, which you know they will, and you're not a customer according to them with Caleb and Brown, you might not be able to get into Caleb and Brown. Okay, these laws might change, and they might say, you know what, Caleb and Brown, from now on, it's only institutional customers. If you have existing customers, great. But after a certain date, you cannot sign up anybody unless they're, accredited investor status, or they're it might just be institutional. We don't know. So these are my concerns. Just get an account, sign up, do at least one trade every 6 months at a minute. Just make it look like you're trading, okay? Because when the push comes to shove, and the government's like, but that's not a customer, so close that account. They've never traded, close that account. Like, I'm just letting you know, it very well could happen. All right. So I'm going to let Jim talk a little bit here about signing up, and maybe I'll ask some questions. I'm going to read the questions that are here, and we're going to make everything clear and understandable. This is getting exciting, and we want to be ready, because when this crypto takes off, how's it going to be? Let's say this: if 10,000 people, I'm being serious, if something happens tomorrow, I'm just being, I'm being real world with this. If somehow they pass crypto laws and 10,000 people call up Caleb Brown tomorrow, and crypto starts taking off, but you can't get anybody on the phone because 10,000 people, how are you going to make a trade? You're going to miss out, right? Now is the time when everything is slow to sign up, transfer your crypto there for free. So you have some, maybe you want to bust a move and trade. How is it going to feel when, from what I see, these crypto laws might be coming, who knows when? We don't know anytime. And how's it going to be when you can't get an account open for a week or two because Caleb Brown's got 10,000 people that just signed up, right? Right. And then the bull run happens and you miss out. How are you going to feel? Just letting you know, okay? Now's the perfect time. Set up your account, put some shit in there, make one or two trades or whatever, and be ready because if crypto laws happen tomorrow, you're ready to go. I'm going to transfer some shit, or if I see something going up, I might transfer 1 to 3, 4, 5,000 and get that while it's going up. And you're stuck trying to call Caleb Brown with 10 other thousand people trying to open up an account. It's not a good idea. Start right now before this thing takes off. We want to be prepared and get this Caleb Brown stuff set up, and we're ready to go if something were to happen. So, Jim, go ahead and introduce yourself and give a little brief introduction, and I'll find a question to ask you here in about a minute or two, maybe.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on, Hulk. For those that haven't seen my face before, I work at Caleb Brown. I look after all things partnerships at Caleb Brown, and I usually come on this show every couple of weeks. I've just come back from a long trip in the US where we met a lot of clients and got to meet a lot of familiar faces. So, in terms of what Hulk is saying, it's true in the sense that, look, this is a very interesting time in the crypto space. We're seeing more and more laws and regulations. We're starting to see large entities start to hold crypto on their balance sheets, start to incorporate within their operations. So it's a very exciting time to be involved in this space. And certainly from the respect of, look, in a bull market as a business, if you're a current client, we are operationally mature to handle all trade requests from our tens of thousands of clients. That is never a concern. So if you're ever needing to get a trade done or even contact and speak to your broker, that is something that we can always handle at scale and at demand. Now, where it does get a little tricky, as Hulk mentioned, is, look, if we have 10,000 people sign up and try and make an account tomorrow because the market moves 15, 20% as an example, it takes us longer to onboard clients because we have a whole bunch of AML and KYC requirements that we need to adhere by as a business. And ultimately that will lead to delays. So there are delays at times when it comes to actually onboarding clients. So certainly, look, if you've got some spare time, you're potentially interested in a brokerage service like ours, it doesn't hurt to sign up today and just get that process done. Because certainly if you try to do it when the market does turn and when we start to see a really significant amount of demand for a service like ours, it can take a lot longer to enter the market. So it's completely free to sign up and make an account. So we very much encourage at least getting that step done. So if in the future you want to use a service like ours, or even you want to speak to a broker and have them go through your portfolio, you can do that before things start to get really crazy here. So that is certainly what we encourage. But happy to answer any questions about how we operate as a business, anything in relation to our service.
Okay, we got a question. How can I open a Caleb and Brown in Qatar, QATAR?
I'd need to check if Qatar is a country that we can accept. Unfortunately, look, we offer our services in over 100 countries. There are a few that at this stage we can't offer our services to, whether that's due to banking rails, whether that's due to the laws and regulations within that country. I would probably, if I had to guess, I would say that Qatar is unfortunately one of those countries we can't offer our services to. But I'll confirm that. I'll actually have a look now and I'll write it within the chat. But yeah, unfortunately, there are just some countries we can't offer our services to.
MAB 1914 has a question. Jim, can I transfer $300 of crypto to Caleb and Brown?
Yeah, so you can transfer as much or as little as you'd like. There's no cost to do that. So if you're holding $300 worth of crypto on another exchange on your own wallet, and you'd like to transfer them over and use the benefit of our custody solution, then you're more than welcome to do so. And there's no maximums or minimums. So you could trade $20, you could trade 300, you could trade transfer over 300 million or 3 million. It's really up to you in terms of how you want to use the service. But transfers are completely free with us.
Okay, so a lot of people, let me just rephrase it and say it again because some people don't understand. I could have a crypto wallet with different kinds of
Mhm.
crypto. I've got to contact my broker to say, hey, can you assist me in transferring this crypto over? The cost is free. I could put my crypto into Caleb Brown. I could do some trading and all this stuff. And then let's say I want to end my relationship with Caleb Brown. I can transfer all my crypto out, and that is free as well, correct?
Correct. Correct. And
Okay.
in that scenario, the broker is there to help you. But if you know what you're doing, you'll get your own wallet addresses on your portal. You can just do that process yourself. So if you know how to transfer assets from, I don't know, Coinbase to Calvin Brown through sending it via the wallet address, you could do that yourself through the portal. It's quite an easy process. If you're not as confident, that's where you've got your broker. That's where they can reach out and help you do that process as well. But yes, exactly. It's completely free.
Okay. So let's say with some people, what you might want to do is send the smallest amount possible just to make sure you don't mess up. And then that way, if you were to lose, then you lost the smallest amount. Now, when you're trading at Caleb Brown, from what I understand, there's no minimum or maximum. So some places have it to where you can't, okay, take 1 million of this crypto and go buy that. Like there's limits on things, but Caleb Brown, as we just heard, has no limits. There's a lot of places that have limits. Jim, what about a withdrawal? Let's say tomorrow XRP goes up and I've got $1 million. How long will it take for you guys to process that? If I want to cash out, sell off $1 million worth of XRP and send it to my bank, how long does that take you guys on your end to do that?
Yeah, so I'll just go back one little step. So we do have a minimum trade size. So we don't have maximums, which you're correct in.
Oh yeah,
We do have a
500.
500 USD minimum. So if you're looking to do a trade, it needs to be at least 500 USD. But if you are a client that's looking to trade at size, there's no maximums on that. When it comes to withdrawals, look, we'll go through the withdrawal process ourselves internally. We have a whole bunch of security protocols and checks in place to ensure that it's actually you processing the withdrawal. We have unfortunately seen so many examples over the years of people who have had their email hacked, they've been SIM swapped, or someone is calling us pretending to be them through their phone. And we'll actually go through a whole bunch of verification questions. We are really security conscious when it comes to withdrawals to ensure that the protection of a client's assets are there. But ultimately, let's just say, Hulk, you want to withdraw $1 million worth of US dollars to your bank account. We'll give you a call. We'll verify that it's you. We'll go through all those security procedures and checks. And then on our end, we'll actually work with our US bank, and they'll work quite closely with whatever bank you're using to withdraw that US dollars to. Ideally, it's done within the day. Obviously, sometimes it depends on the banks in that scenario. So sometimes it may take a couple more days. But that's the benefit of having your broker. That's the benefit of having a support team. You can call your broker to see how it's tracking. Usually, if there is a delay, we'll let them know. But ultimately, that's not really a delay on our end. It's a delay on the bank's end. But we find that for withdrawals, banks usually don't have any issues in terms of receiving US dollars. It's usually once you're depositing that we start to see some issues. But yeah, within a day or two, usually, but that will depend on the bank.
Okay. Chris from New Jersey has a question, or Chris NJ75. Thanks for that donation, by the way. His question is, how do they compare to Robinhood? And could I transfer to them from Robinhood?
Yeah, so I mean, a key difference between Robinhood and what we do is that we are purely just crypto focused, and that's really our main focus in everything that we do. We're a brokerage as well in the sense that you actually have a dedicated resource. Again, I'm not fully versed in Robinhood's entire service, but with Calvin Brown, you'll actually get your own broker that you can call about your specific portfolio. They'll help provide guidance. They'll help provide information around what we're currently seeing in the space. They'll help you set up exit strategies, profit-taking strategies. Essentially, they're there to help assist you throughout your entire crypto journey with us. So that's a bit more of a hands-on personalized service compared to probably what you'll receive at Robinhood, although I'm not entirely sure on their entire service. I can't remember the second part of that question was, yeah, if you're holding crypto with Robinhood on their app, you can easily transfer those assets over to Calvin Brown and leverage our institutional grade cold storage solution. So that's probably something else we'll discuss on this chat is custody. The way that we custody assets for clients are quite unique and are quite beneficial for clients. So again, ultimately, I'm not sure how Robinhood does their custody, but I can assure you it's probably a little different to how we do things here. But yeah, it's ultimately up to you and how you want to use the service. But I'd say they're probably the two main key differences: the personalized service you get with your own broker, and then also how we custody assets for you if you're looking to hold for the long term.
Okay, Timbo Slice gave 5 people memberships. Billy Bob got a membership by Timbo Slice. CJ Ward got a membership. Jose Cardenas, Memoirs of a Captive, and Michael Pomeroy received a membership by Timbo Slice. Let's go here to Just Revenant. Just Revenant, thank you very much for that tax-free donation. I really like Caleb C and B so far. Okay. AJ Singh, member for 29 months at the 2024 crypto explosion. Hi, so here's the question. Could accredited investors in New York open a Caleb Brown account? If not, could my cousin in New Jersey open one and list me as an authorized user or an owner?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can't accept any kinds of clients within New York currently. The main reason for that is it requires any entity to operate in the digital asset space there requires you to have something called a bit license, which is incredibly onerous and quite difficult to get. And at this stage, we don't currently have one, so we can't operate within New York. That's the only state that we don't operate within. So if your cousin wanted to sign up through New Jersey, if he lives in New Jersey, he'd be able to do that, and he'd be able to get you assigned as an authorized agent on his account. You ultimately wouldn't, the account wouldn't be under your name; it'd be under the cousin's name. But if you wanted to get exposure that way, there's a way to do that through being an authorized agent. It's a little trickier. So what I do recommend is if you are based in New York, but maybe you have an LLC based elsewhere within the US, you can actually onboard that LLC and trade through that LLC. But ultimately, if you're an individual living in New York, it's there's not much we could do at this stage. What I would say is that New York, I think it's Mayor Adams has preached over the last sort of month how they want New York to be one of the biggest crypto hubs in the US in terms of one of their best states. So, and he also mentioned that they're looking to review the bit license requirements. So we're hopeful that in the future, crypto within New York will be a bit more lenient and will allow for businesses like us to operate within them, because ultimately we know that there's a lot of New Yorkers that are very pro crypto. So hopefully in the future that'll change, but at this stage, they're probably your two likely ways if you wanted to work with us.
So probably what I'd recommend is that person to talk to a lawyer and discuss about starting a corporation or an LLC and have them contact Caleb and Brown's law people and figure out a way for you to be a customer of Caleb and Brown if you live in a certain particular area. So I'll kind of leave it at that.
Mhm.
Sounds like a doable plan, but it's going to cost you probably 2-3 G's to get it done. Caleb Gilmore, thank you very much for that donation. Just saying thanks to Jim for his time again. Thanks, Hulk. Much appreciated. Always learning. Look, I want you guys hooked up with this service. I want you to be ready because if the Bulls were going to run tomorrow, are you ready to act like if I come out and say, hey, everybody, check it out. Oh my God, look what's happening. Are you able to take advantage? Are you going to miss out? Oh, I got to call Caleb Brown and I got to do this, or it's too late. See, in crypto stuff, bam, happens like that. If you're not ready to go and pull the trigger, you lost, okay? Or if something starts dumping, and I'm like, oh my God, everybody check it out. Something happened to Axelar. Get out right now. Well, here's the news. I can't tell you to do nothing, but I always give my disclaimers, but of all the drugs that I use and stuff like that. So, but yeah, if you're not ready and something happens, good or bad, get the account set up now. While everything's nice and quiet in crypto, they don't got 3 million people calling them right now. You can get hooked up quick. Now, what if you want to take money from your bank, but then everybody else is at the bank? See what I mean? I one time when I first signed up with Caleb Brown, I went to my bank. It took me like 3, 4 days to get an appointment. It wasn't Caleb Brown's fault, it's the bank's fault. And then when the bank, listen to this, the bank the first time wasn't sending the money. And then I kept going back to the bank like the second time. I had to start threatening people to send my money from Wells Fargo to Caleb Brown. All these dumb games they play. I'm telling you, then let's add on now 3 million people trying to make an appointment. It's not going to be a good situation. Set up your account right now. Be ready and make at least a trade. So let's get going to the next question here.
Yeah, while you're looking for another question, I think the biggest thing as well, someone mentioned around the difference between Calvin Brown and Robinhood. And look, a lot of people in this community, why do you listen to Hulk? It's because he provides education. He's super informative. He's doing a lot of research and news within the crypto space, which is amazing. That's a lot of what we do with our clients. So we do a lot of the heavy lifting around what are the current key narratives, what are the main pieces of news, what are the assets and industries to be across. We do a lot of that for our clients through education, research reports, through, we provide a weekly newsletter that details out everything that's happened in crypto. So it's a really beneficial service if you're someone that wants to continue to stay up to date with what's going on in crypto, but maybe you don't have as much time, which is totally fair enough because there's so much going on every day. So think of it really as, yes, a platform and a service for you to invest, but similar to how you listen to Hulk and get your feedback and insights from him, it's actually a service and a contact that you can go to learn as much about the space as you want as well. So think of it like that. It's a really beneficial way for you to stay up to date with everything that's going on in this space day to day.
All right, the Stellar Man asks a question, member for 27 months. Okay, Hulk, I'm convinced. I'm not selling a used car, everybody. What I'm selling you is a fucking life raft because when you get thrown out in the ocean, you're going to need a big ass life raft to get back to shore. Okay, Hulk, I'm convinced. I'm creating a Caleb Brown account as soon as possible. Whew, all right. Can we still sign up through Crypto Hulk link? Yes, that's the only way to sign up. Go find my link under my other shows. I don't think this show has the link. And hook up, and you'll be extremely glad of that. Now, there's Delgado FT. You need to contact me on X. I cannot find you. I got some other $500 members, but I can't find where you're at. Just signed up with Caleb and Brown. Smart move. Max, thank you very much for the tax-free donation. Do I absolutely need my passport, or is there another form? Okay, Jim, so do I need my passport, or is there another form of documentation I can use to sign up with Caleb and Brown?
Yeah, so you can use your driver's license or any other form of ID to sign up. Usually we just need some sort of identification to verify that it's actually you signing up. So if you don't have access to your passport for whatever reason, and you have maybe a driver's license or you have another ID card that you can use, that will be sufficient. We would just need to go through the regular KYC process to get you signed up. But ultimately, we don't need your passport if you don't have that currently with you, as long as you have another form of ID.
Danny Outer City Arts, thank you very much for the tax-free donation. Then we got AJ Singh, thank you very much for the tax-free donation. He says, thanks, Jim and Crypto Hulk. Let me look for some questions here. Let's see, do I buy USD or RLUSD and then transfer from Uphold to Caleb Brown instead of a wire transfer money? I think that's you could do that. If you got an Uphold account and you want to fund your account at Caleb Brown, then just you could send that crypto to your Caleb Brown account. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Can't you do that, Jim?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you're holding, I assume Uphold lets you hold fiat. So if you're holding US dollars on Uphold, or let's just say it's USDC or USDT, you can transfer those assets over to Callum Brown. Something we've mentioned on this call before is that unfortunately, sometimes banks will charge you a wire transfer fee, which is how we allow clients to on ramp. That is really annoying, and honestly, banks shouldn't do that. But if you're wanting to fund your Callum Brown account, but your bank is charging you an exorbitant wire transfer fee, the best way that we usually like to say is you could probably wire that money on an Uphold or a Coinbase, let's say, in a different way. So not a bank wire transfer, but through, say, your bank card or your credit card. And then if you wanted to do it that way, so you don't get that bank wire transfer fee, you can then transfer that US dollars to Calvin Brown that way without the fee. So unfortunately, in how we allow clients to on ramp, it's only currently through bank wire transfer. And sometimes there is a fee associated with that from your bank. So again, if you're having issues with that, that's one alternative. But ultimately, I would say the best way to handle it is first just create the account, speak to your broker because they've usually been through these scenarios before, and they can help you in terms of, okay, I want to on ramp and start trading with you guys. What's the best way for me to do this at the cheapest, the cheapest way to do so?
Okay, we got another question. Somebody's from the Bahamas. Look, if you're from a country where you can't access Caleb and Brown, you need to go see a lawyer. There are ways where corporations can buy crypto. Depends on where your corporation is. So you need to go talk to a lawyer. It's not going to be cheap, but you can talk to a lawyer and figure out how to set up whatever you got to set up, and then you'd be able to buy from Caleb and Brown. Your corporation would, not you. But this is all legal stuff, so you need to go talk to a lawyer, and they'll figure out how to make it happen for you. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, what I would say for those countries, so Bahamas, the person who asked about Qatar, unfortunately, we can't onboard clients from those countries. It's got nothing to do with you personally. It's really just to do with the jurisdictions there and essentially their regulations when it comes to onboarding clients in the digital asset space there. That is one approach that, look, if you are able to create an LLC in a different country, we would be able to onboard that LLC and you can invest through that. The other way that I would just say is, look, you can still invest in crypto and get that exposure through decentralized exchanges or potentially other platforms as well. So I don't want to feel for people to feel that they can't get exposure to crypto if they don't have a Callum Brown account. Obviously, we'd love to have you as a client, but ultimately, if you're still looking to invest in this space and you want to buy assets in crypto, there are other ways to do it, whether you do it through a decentralized exchange or another avenue. So certainly still explore those options. You just wouldn't get the kind of service that we offer, unfortunately. But don't feel like you can't get exposure to crypto, even if you live in those countries.
Okay. Mr. OG says it's too easy to transfer. It is just like doing a phone transfer. Copy wallet, paste input account, and send.
Yeah, once you've got the experience of transferring and knowing how to pull your wallet address and where it's going, it is quite a seamless process. We do very much recommend, as Hulk mentioned before, doing a test transaction first. So sending a little bit of crypto, seeing that that's been done successfully, and then transferring the rest over. But as we mentioned as well, look, if you're new to this space or you're a bit scared to do it because it is a bit of a stressful experience, that's where you can contact your broker. They can jump on a call with you. They can help you do that safely as well. So we try and make it as simple as possible, but it is crypto and sometimes it can be a little tricky at times. So feel free to reach out to your broker and we'll be able to help you.
Mike Sterling has a question. I think we might have already answered it, but can I buy crypto from other places and then transfer into my Caleb and Brown account? I would say part of that is yes and no. You can only transfer certain cryptos that Caleb and Brown has wallets for. So, Jim, could you go ahead and answer that question?
Yeah, exactly right. As Hulk said. So look, we list, I would say it's probably close to 300 assets as part of our service to clients. If you hold one of those assets, if you've bought that on another platform and you want to transfer them over to Calvin Brown, you'll be able to do that. So let's just say it's, I don't know, the example of H bar is probably a poor one because most places offer it. But with Caleb Brown, you'll have your own H bar wallet. It'll be vaulted away. But let's just say you've bought H bar on Coinbase or somewhere else. You can transfer that H bar from Coinbase to your H bar wallet at Caleb Brown. And then you'll be able to custody it and hold it with us. So yeah, as long as we list it, you can move it over to Caleb Brown.
Eric Grasso, thank you very much for the donation. Jim, we have a question. Has Caleb and Brown thought of carrying WeCan, the crypto, WECAN?
I haven't heard of WeCan actually. I might need to have a look into it. I want in terms of how we list assets, and I've probably said this before on these calls, that we'll never say no to at least doing our due diligence on assets. So we can, for example, after this call, I can speak to our operations team. They'll review the WeCan asset. They'll look at the liquidity of it. They'll look at the utility behind it. Essentially, we have a whole bunch of parameters and checks in place to review new assets. And then if we think it's something that we can sufficiently list, we'll list it and then it'll be available for clients to buy, sell, and store it with us. So I haven't heard of WeCan. I'm not sure if you can give me a little rundown on it now, Hulk, but it's something that we can look into potentially listing.
What I think I'm going to do is this, because you know what? I do a lot of research on cryptos, and I'm going to I don't want 3,000 people calling Caleb Brown. So what I think I'm going to do from now on is I'm going to contact Jim, or yeah, and because WeCan is a crypto I did a show on, and now, but see again, they have their parameters and we have ours. So what I'm going to do, I think from now on, is send or contact Jim here when I do research and I'm like, oh damn, look at this. I'm going to contact Jim, and if I can, send them some of my research stuff that I find. And if they can look at it and bust a move, yes or no on it, then because that's what I think we'll do. Yeah, WeCan is something that I can't really discuss. It has some connections way, way high up that I don't want to talk about here. So it's something that I wish Caleb Brown had. I would have probably dumped in 2 or 3 grand into it. So I'm gonna start contacting Jim, everybody, when I find different cryptos. Don't you guys call your brokers and all. It's just I'll handle it. If enough of you want it, then I'll contact Jim, and then that way he gets one person instead of 3,000 contacting him. So, but okay, let me look here. Chris Brown, thank you very much for the donation. Chris says, "Can I store NFTs on Caleb and Brown?"
No, unfortunately not. It's purely just a spot trading service at this point. We don't store or buy or sell or offer NFTs. Um, so yeah, that's essentially the short answer to that one.
Okay, the Stellar Man has a question. Does Caleb Brown have an app that I can use, or is it just a website?
Yeah, great question, Stella man. So the short answer is our app is going to go live, I would say, very, very soon. It's been in testing for the better part of a year. It's been approved by the Apple App Store. It's just in its final round of testing. But we've had probably a select group of maybe 500 plus clients use it day to day just to test it, find all the bugs. Essentially, how we operate as a business is we want everything to be as perfect as possible before we release something. So the short answer is it will be live pretty soon. I can't give you a set date on that, unfortunately. But as soon as it's live, we'll be making sure all of our clients are aware of it. Because we know, look, I'm the same. I do everything on my phone. I want to have an app for Caleb Brown. I want to do trades through that app. So that'll all go live here pretty soon. In the meantime, you'll have to stick to the browser. But the great thing about the app as well is you actually have the ability to message your broker within the app, which is quite unique and awesome, I would say, to have that direct line of contact. So can't give you a set date, but it's coming very shortly.
Okay, he says, thanks for the response. Some of these people here next. XRP OBD, thanks for that tax-free donation. I'm sorry I'm late And you already answered this question, but let's say our cryptos exploded overnight. How easy is it to cash out?
Yeah, very easy. So let's just say you're holding XRP and it goes crazy overnight and you want to sell out into your bank account. You'll be able to process that transaction. So obviously, initially, you'll need to sell out of the crypto into fiat. So you would sell out of that XRP into US dollars. And then once it's in US dollars, you can request a withdrawal to your bank account. So with Calvin Brown, you can link your specific bank account to your Calvin Brown account. And then we'll go through that withdrawal process. We'll give you a call to verify it's actually you. We'll go through those checks, as I mentioned before. And then ultimately, it's up to the banks in terms of how quickly they'll process it. So we have banking partnerships throughout the US, and our US bank would work closely with whichever US bank you are holding that bank account with to process that withdrawal. Usually, it's 1 to 2 business days. It can be even quicker than that sometimes. It really, at that point, depends on the bank and how quickly they'll process it on their end. But that's where you'll have your broker to call to make sure that everything's running smoothly. But yeah, quite quickly is what I would say. And the other benefit is there's no fees or limits. So let's just say your portfolio overnight goes up, I don't know, X%, and you're trying to withdraw, over $1 million, for an example. We would be able to do that all in one go. So we wouldn't limit you to say $20,000 a day. We would do that entire withdrawal process all in one go, and we won't charge you a fee for that.
Sebastian Lopez, if Caleb and Brown went down or shut down, how would I access my crypto?
Yeah, so if something was to happen to our business, let's just say in the event of, I don't know, bankruptcy or insolvency, every client of Calvin Brown is a beneficial owner of their assets. So we hold client assets on trust on behalf of clients. So we're the custodian, but you're the beneficial owner of those assets. So let's just say Calvin Brown goes bankrupt tomorrow, which would be an awful experience for us. Your assets aren't attributed to Calvin Brown's assets. So the first thing that we would do as a business is return all client assets to their rightful owners, which are you. That would be the very first thing that we would do and be legally required to do as a business. So we can get into custody and how we do things here, but we ultimately hold all client assets and they're accounted for one. So let's say in the scenario that we didn't go bankrupt, but for whatever reason, every single client tomorrow decided to withdraw their assets from us, we would be able to process all of that and do so quite seamlessly just because of the way that we custody and hold client assets. So please rest assured that if anything was to ever happen to our business, you would be the rightful owner and the beneficial owner of those assets that you hold with us currently.
Okay, so on a typical exchange, my crypto, is it where that exchange uses my crypto and they move it around and stuff? Is that how most exchanges do it?
I can't speak to how current operations of exchanges are. I know that, look, I had money on FTX, and if you actually looked into the fine print of the terms and conditions when you signed up and created an account with them, you effectively gave them access to use those assets how they please. And that's where we found out that, look, I was holding Ethereum with them at the time. Turns out they were then taking that Ethereum, trading it on the market, trying to earn a yield on it, essentially trying to operate like a bank when really they're just an exchange. I don't know what other platforms and exchanges are doing current day. I can't imagine they're doing that. But ultimately, we've seen, look, this is a crypto space. We've seen it time and time again where you're holding assets on these platforms thinking they're safe. And unfortunately, they're earning a yield on it elsewhere, or they're offering yield to you, but to do so, they're incorporating counterparty risk with your assets. So with us, it's quite boring. We just hold assets in cold storage. We're not incentivized to custody your assets. Like, we don't earn a fee on custody. We aren't earning a yield on it. We just do it as a way to give assurance for our clients that their assets are safe and protected with us. But ultimately, it's all available there for you when you decide to either make a trade or you decide to withdraw your assets from our platform.
So Caleb and Brown utilizes Fireblocks. Tell us what Fireblocks is and what reputation does Fireblocks have with 2,000 banks and institutions?
Yeah, it's funny. We've had a lot of feedback recently from a few people in the space that for some reason think that it is an institutional level Fireblocks. I can almost say with guarantee that Fireblocks is one of the leading industry. They're one of the leaders in this space when it comes to providing a custody solution. They're used by the largest institutions. They're used by the largest banks, as you mentioned, around the world. They offer a cold storage institutional grade custody solution for clients. So we leverage their custody solution, but I want to be really clear about this, that they provide the solution and it can be as boiler template as you want. It's then really up to the business that uses them to then configure the additional layers of security protocols and things on top of it to ensure that it's at the highest level of security as possible. You'll see some people in this space that, yes, they'll use Fireblocks or maybe they'll use another custody provider like, say, Anchorage, but it's really dependent on them what you then do with it as a business. What configurations are you putting in place to ensure that client assets are protected? Do you have the necessary verification protocols, things like multi-party computation in the back end to ensure that client assets are actually protected? We do as a business. It's something that we focus on and have a full operations team here that are solely focused on consumer protection and custody. But ultimately, we use Fireblocks. They're our custody solution provider, but we're the custodian of assets. So we custody assets for clients, but we have a whole bunch of, as I mentioned, security protocols and things in place to ensure that your assets are protected, even to the extent that when we execute trades, we use our own liquidity. So your assets, if you're holding them with us, they'll sit in cold storage, and they'll literally just sit there. And then if you decide to make a trade, instead of us moving your assets from cold storage and exposing them to counterparty risk elsewhere, we'll actually just use Calvin Brown's own liquidity. So we'll use our own USDC, we'll use our own XRP. We'll do the trade ourselves with our own liquidity and then balance things up at the end of the day. So ultimately, look, I would say it's top tier when it comes to custody. We don't charge a fee for it, which is quite rare in this space. Ultimately, the more assets that are held with us, we actually pay more for this custody solution. But again, we're not forcing clients to use our solution. It's really just there for clients that maybe don't want to use their own hardware wallet or want to have diversity of options. So we offer it. But if you're not comfortable with it or you're uneasy about using our custody solution, that's where we can help you set up your own cold wallet and you can use that yourself as well. It's really up to you. And we just want to give that option to clients if they want to use our custody solution.
Here's a question, or maybe just a whatever. Hi, Hulksters. My question, please. Can Caleb Brown assist with tax or company setup in Australia?
So we can't help you set up your company within Australia. So we're not a lawyer or an accountancy firm. We can certainly onboard your company. So let's just say you set up a PTY LTD business. You can onboard that business with us and trade through that entity. So we can help you trade through it, but we can't actually create that entity for you. And then when it comes time to tax, as an Australian resident, we can provide all the necessary tax documentation, summary reports. We even have an integration with Crypto Tax Calculator, which is an Australian crypto tax business. So we can help you in terms of getting as prepared as possible for your tax reporting requirements. But that's ultimately up to you as an investor to essentially report those dealings. But we'll provide you with all the information you need.
Just to let everybody know, what I'm working on right now is to work with a law firm and possibly work that into the Crypto Hulk group that we have here. So over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, I will be talking with the law firm. If they're interested, then I'd like for them to partner with me, and then I'd have them contact Caleb and Brown's lawyers and see if everybody can kind of figure out if we can work together legally over the oceans and stuff and figure. So if it's possible, then what you could do is watch my channel, call up the lawyers, set up an LLC in whatever country or whatever you want, and then you can start an account with Caleb Brown and buy, sell, whatever you got to do. So this is something that I'm working on right now, and we're going to see how it pans out. Let me go to the next question. XRP OBD says, God bless you, young man. I'm sending the rest of my crypto. He says, F Coinbase. Okay. So there you go with that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions coming through here. I'm just Let me scroll
Me and my friend want to buy crypto together. Can you make a joint account where we both are equal owners of the crypto? Look at
up. No, unfortunately, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, unfortunately, in that scenario, we don't allow for joint ownership accounts. The main reason for that is when it comes time to off ramp or on ramp, it needs to be within a bank account of your name. What we can allow is for you to be a designated agent of that account, either yourself or your friends. But ultimately, I think the best way to approach it is to create your own separate accounts, and then that will allow you to have all the functionality within the Calvin Brown service. It also mean that you'll both get your own broker, which I think is probably beneficial for you, given that your risk profile, your interest in assets is probably a little different to your friends. Or if not, it's also just beneficial for you both to have your own direct contact and resource. So I would just suggest creating, your separate accounts.
Now we have an interesting question. Someone asked about insurance. Tell us about anything you know about is crypto insured or what's anything with that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot said, interestingly, about our business over the last I would say the last month. What I would say about insurance and assets is that we do have an insurance policy through Fireblocks as our custody solution provider. So let's just say that something was to happen to Fireblocks and their technology. Ultimately, clients would be protected under that insurance policy. So if they were to be hacked or something was to be compromised on their end, given that Callum Brown is a client of Fireblocks, clients of Callum Brown would ultimately fall under that insurance policy. So that ensures the requisite protection there. But ultimately, as I've mentioned a few times throughout this call, your assets are held and accounted for one for one. So if anything was to happen on Fireblocks' end, ultimately your assets are still protected with us, and we'd be able to process those withdrawals on your end. So we do have an insurance policy. It's through Fireblocks. So that should give you the requisite protection if anything was to happen.
Okay, one person. Oh yeah. So we know something bad happened at Coinbase where they were using. Now I'm speaking on something that I think I read, so I'm not an expert here reporting facts. I'm just reporting hearsay. That's not admissible in court. So something happened with Coinbase where somehow customers' information got hacked because they were maybe using a third party and can like how can Caleb and Brown without getting into anything specific, and you kind of probably know what I'm talking about. How can customers of Caleb Brown know you guys aren't just finding people for $5 an hour in some sweatshop country or something? How do we know you guys got it all under control? How do we know this?
Yeah, yeah. So the Coinbase was really an internal breach where they had offshore resources that were engaged and contacted by nefarious actors in this space that essentially bribed them to provide personal information on clients. So there's a few things. The first thing I would say is we don't have any offshore resources. So everyone that works within Calum Brown either lives in Australia or the US. You can actually go on our website and you'll see everyone that works in the team, which is very transparent of us. So that's the first thing. We don't hire any offshore workers. All of our support workers either work here in Australia or within the United States. The second component of that is that, look, the information that we hold as a business is, we have requirements and privacy requirements for that data, but ultimately our internal processes mean that, look, people within our operations team and our development team don't have access to the information that necessarily our brokers do or our support team do. So information, especially when it comes to your personal information, is segmented throughout the business. And ultimately, we have a whole bunch of security checks and protocols in place to ensure that that data is protected, and it's protected to ensure that there are no internal breaches and leaks within our business. So look, I'm very confident. I know everyone that works within the business. That's one benefit of us being a little smaller than some of these big exchanges is that, look, we actually know everyone that works here, and we have a lot of security protocols in place that can actually be enforced. as opposed to businesses that have tens of thousands of employees and some are working offshore and maybe it's a higher likelihood of compromise. We're very confident in how we've operated the business, and we've never really had any data breaches or leaks on our end. And we know that privacy and data protection is the number one thing that most people in crypto care about. And so we really put a lot of emphasis and value on that.
Now, I won't mention any names of a super huge crypto exchange, but they have so many times where they shut down. So many times I got friends who can't get their crypto. It's a big freaking mess, a particular crypto exchange. I'd highly recommend not doing business with a particular big, huge crypto exchange. But Don J, thank you, Don, for that tax-free donation right there. Dream 3R has a question. Not that I'm complaining about the free custody, but if Caleb Brown pays more to Fireblocks to custody more of our crypto, then how do you guys make up the shortfall?
Yeah, so the comment I made there was that through our custody offering to clients, we don't charge for that, right? So
Right.
the more assets we hold under management, naturally, that's just the more fee that we incorporate as a business. So we suffer sort of the extra cost on that, but that's really incorporated in the overall 3.5% fee. So that 3.5% fee encompasses the personalized service. It encompasses having your own broker. It encompasses the custody. So that really only ever falls under a trade being executed. So don't feel that, look, if I'm custodying my assets with Cam Brown, it's free, that I'm going to be charged elsewhere. We're very transparent in what our fee structure is. It's only ever going to be on a trade. So if you buy, sell, or swap with us, that's where we'll charge a fee. But ultimately, anything outside of that is no fee on your end. The reason I gave that example is to demonstrate that we're not incentivized to custody your assets with us. So we're not earning a yield on it. Unfortunately, we've seen some other people in this space very much request that their clients or community members move assets over their platform because they'll charge a custody fee. We don't do that. We just offer our custody solution free of charge because we know a lot of clients really want a custody solution like this. So that's why we offer it. But I'm trying to, I guess the reason I said that it costs us more actually is that, look, there's no incentivization on us to custody your assets with us. In fact, it costs us more. So we really do it because we believe in this personalized institutional grade service. But if you want to custody your assets yourself, that's totally fine on us. In fact, we'll actually help you set that up and encourage you to do so. It's really dependent on you, your risk profile, where you want to hold your assets.
Yeah, I was talking to friends and some of them like they're a little apprehensive because they don't really understand Caleb Brown that much. And I talked to some people and then they're starting to come around because I told them, hey, if you don't have an account set up, let's just say worst case scenario, and they make all these crypto laws and that you can only people like you and me, retail can only buy from whatever place, they might shut doors on institutional buying to people like us. So set up your account, be ready, because when these crypto laws hit, we don't know they could say, hey, Caleb Brown, no more retail after this. If you got existing retail, hey, that's great. But after this, no more. I just want to know
Yeah, it's
for the rest of you, like, how you going to feel like, damn, I missed out. So just, it costs nothing to open an account. It costs nothing to transfer your crypto in. You're not going to have to pay a monthly protection fee. And let's just say you hate Caleb Brown, just transfer it out and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. Okay. This is the most simple, good company that I've found out about. I mean, damn, there's like a note. Plus, you got Fireblocks, which 2,000 banks and institutions, BlackRock, BNY Mellon, Sony Pictures, all the top banks all these top banks got, go through their customer list, look at all the 2,000 names. We went on their website one day. I started reading all the names of the, I said, I got to stop. It's just, I can't read off 2,000 customers. Okay. This is who Caleb and Brown has protecting your crypto, is the same custody that the biggest banks in the world. That's what Caleb Brown has protecting your stuff. Now, it's great because I don't want, me personally, I don't want them to do anything with my crypto. Don't loan it, don't stake it, don't do shit except lock it up in Fireblocks. And then maybe in 1, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, everything's safe, all the rug pulls are done, the government's got everything, then maybe I'll think about staking stuff. I'm not trying to earn a yield on a 3 cent crypto. That's freaking stupid, okay? Oh, my crypto's 25 cents. I want to stake it. I'm like, oh my God, dude. That's so, that's, I don't want Caleb Brown touching my, I want him to just lock it up and bury it 300 feet below the ground. That's all I want done with my crypto. So if you're the kind who wants to do all this other stuff and risk getting your cheeks clapped, then go to some other place. But at least leave half of it on Caleb Brown, because in the other places, you're probably going to lose it all. Okay. Don J. Let's see what Don J has. Caleb Brown comes to the USA. Will you fall under the US law and provide IRS customer info for taxes or whatever they ask, or is that information private?
Yeah, so what I would say is that yes, we're headquartered in Australia and we have an Australian entity here, but most of our US clients already fall under our US entity. So we have an LLC incorporated within the US. That's been the case now for quite a while. So it's not like we're just an Australian business. We actually have a US entity already incorporated. And if you're a US client, you most likely already fall under that US entity. So when it comes time to reporting on, tax obligations for the IRS, from my understanding, we don't currently do that. Now that may change if we actually open up our office there, which is something we'll be doing very shortly. So at this stage, we don't do any reporting to the IRS. But what I would say is that may potentially change in the future, just due to our requirements to operate our entity within the US. So at this stage, no, but that may change.
Somebody asked a question we just answered. Is there crypto fees for transferring crypto? No. If you have a wallet or an exchange, if you transfer crypto to Caleb Brown, it's free. If you transfer it out, it's free. A lot of these places, or even exchanges, might say, "Oh yeah, you could. We'll store your crypto on our exchange for free. When you pull it out, there's a charge." So Caleb Brown, there is none. They just charge for trading and swapping. What else do you charge for besides trading and swapping?
Uh, so, so so I would say trading and swapping are this sort of same thing. So it's buy, sell, and swap. So let's just say you hold US dollars with us and you decide to buy XRP with that US dollars. That is a fee. Let's just say you then decide to swap that XRP into Bitcoin. There's a fee associated with that. And then let's just say after, I don't know, a couple of years, you decide to then sell that Bitcoin back into US dollars to withdraw. Then there's a fee there as well. So it's on a buy, sell, or swap. And then that's the only fee that we'll ever charge. So there's no spread, there's no slippage, there's no Forex fees, no custody fees. So it's very transparent and will be, when you do the trade, you'll know
And there's
exactly
no
sort of what
sign
the
up
fee will
fee.
be.
Like there's no sign up fee. So you don't have to pay like $2,000 to sign up or something.
Yeah, there's no setup fee. So often services will charge, say, $1,000 for you to sign up and speak to a broker. There's no fee for that. So you can create a free account today using Hulk's link. You can speak to a broker, see if the service is right for you without having to have put any capital or money up front. So that's why we're kind of saying that, look, if you're not sure if the service is right for you, just create a free account and see if it is. There's no monetary obligation for you to do so. So completely free to sign up and get started.
Yeah, so movies and games says, so they store your crypto for free, huh? And the answer is yes. Okay. You could transfer it in for free. You could, from a wallet or an exchange, you could transfer it out to a wallet exchange, no cost. The only time you cost, if you want to cash out $1 million of Bitcoin or whatever into cash, that's going to cost you. But if you just want to transfer your Bitcoin out, and that's up to you, no cost, as long as it's going to a wallet or an exchange or something like that. Okay. Will they ever get into any type of market besides crypto? Oh, Medicare Cowboy says, will you guys have any other type of markets besides crypto, like maybe retirement stuff or whatever? Is there any talk of that down the road or?
At this stage, it's purely just crypto. When you mention retirement stuff, if it's stuff like IRAs, we used to onboard those where you could invest in crypto through your IRA. At this stage, we can't, or we're not offering it currently. But IRAs are something we're looking into because we know that a lot of our clients in the US, they have a fund or their IRA retirement savings they want to invest in crypto. So that is definitely one we're looking into. If you're an Australian on the call, the equivalent of an IRA in Australia is called a self-managed super fund or an SMSF. We can onboard those. So if you're Australian listening to this, I'm not sure. I know Stu's probably in this chat somewhere. But if you're an Australian and you want to invest through crypto through your SMSF, you can do that. But unfortunately, look, we're a crypto obsessed and passionate business. So pretty much what we are focused on is just crypto. We get gold and silver questions all the time, but we're really just focused on this asset class. We love it. We're passionate about it. So we're really putting all of our eggs in the crypto asset class.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, what I just did is in the description, I put a link where you can sign up. So look below this show and that's the show, but look below this show and you can get in. Let me get back to this. You can look
I
below
just put the link in the chat as well.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and put that link in. And then it should show up on my program. I don't know if okay, there it is. So there's a link right there. If you go below the show, click on more, bam, you'll see the link. Hook up with Caleb Brown. I've been into crypto for 5 years. I've been making shows for 5 years. Currently, I'm spending, I'm sure, 60 hours a week on my program. 50 hours a week is just on the phone, video recording, looking for news, and then doing all this crap. And then if I add in, that's 50 hours. And then if I add in making videos, it's another 10. So that's like 60 hours a week. I've only had one sponsor so far in 5 years, and that's Caleb and Brown. Now, a lot of other people they'll have 20 sponsors a year, 15 sponsors a year. And hey, look, whatever other people do, I can't do that personally. I really like Caleb Brown. I trust this company, and I made it a part of my show. So I'm not like other channels. They go through all kinds of whatever platforms. They go through all kinds of sponsors, and they're an affiliate 1 month, and then 6 months later they dump it and find somebody else, and da da da. And then it's just it gets to be ridiculous. So I have one sponsor now. I'm trying to get another sponsor for the law stuff because what I want to do is have everybody set up legally before all this stuff law changes, and then the lawyers will help protect us through the rest of our journey. So Crypto Hulk channel's evolving. My first affiliate, I'm an affiliate, so it's a cryptocurrency what we got right now, and then as things change, now I got to look at like, what are we doing? Where do we go? How do we protect our stuff? And that's where we got the fiduciary right now, and then the lawyer later. So that's what I'm looking at. Maybe in 2-3 weeks, a month, maybe. That's if these people want to go on board. So we buy our crypto, then we custody it, and we got to legally protect it. So that's kind of like as I'm watching stuff happen, I'm like, oh, damn, I see this is coming. And that's why I'm trying to work with this law firm. And I think that'll hopefully be a great addition to the show. If it's not that firm, but I'm not going to announce which one until obviously we can get an agreement with all parties. Maybe it's another law firm. I have no idea. Maybe they don't even like my show. So I have no idea. We'll find out. But I'll tell you what, I knew right away dealing with Caleb Brown after I started watching the commercials and talking to the people. And then you guys were the test rats. So I told Caleb Brown, hey, if all my fans don't like Caleb Brown, because I didn't join, I had you guys join first, and I said, I think I took 4 or 5 weeks, and I didn't join at all. But I would talk about the company because I was kind of excited about it. So I told you guys to join, and everybody was happy with Caleb Brown. So I said, screw it. After like 5 weeks or something, I said, yeah, I think I'm going to sign up myself. And so the rest is history.
Yeah, it was a good process, but it was one where look, we do our due diligence on who we work with as well. We've been around since 2016, so it's a long time in the crypto space. We have a reputation to uphold, and so does Hulk, which I very much respected when it came to doing his research on us. Look, what I would say is that if you ever have any issues with us or there's something that isn't going quite right with the service, you always have someone to talk to, which is quite rare in crypto. Usually, you know, people like Hulk, not like Hulk, but let's just say other influencers will promote a service, but then there's no one to really speak to if something goes wrong. That's literally my job here, is to make sure that anyone in this whole community that has an issue or they want an assistance with their broker, they can reach out to me personally. I'll put my email in the chat so you can do that. But that's really, look, we put our money where our mouth is when it comes to ensuring that we provide a personalized service, and that's through partners like Hulk. So if you have questions for him that you want to get answered by us, we're always here and always available for you. So that's quite unique in crypto, but it's why we've been around for so long and have had such a good reputation. So we're very thankful to be a part of the show, but we also understand that due diligence needs to be done in everything that you do in crypto. There's a lot of bad actors in this space, so if you're someone that's a little uneasy or not quite sure, have a look at about Calum Brown online. There's plenty of reviews and information about us out there. But also you can feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Hulk, and then he can always chat to me about it. So yeah, it's been good to be a part of the show.
And we're right about the 6 o'clock time frame, so that's about an hour. And I will just take some very last minute questions, and we will go off our own merry ways. I got to put together a show for tomorrow morning. I got the show pretty much done. I want to see if I can find a magic crypto and use that tomorrow morning. So let me look for any last questions. John Delineo, I deleted your comment because it's not even, that could happen to any exchange. So that's why I'm not going to discuss that. And let's see here. Thanks, Hulk Jim, for coming. Can't wait to have your own. Jim, how often do you have to make a trade? Brian wants to know, how often does he have to make a trade to be considered an active account?
Well, so I'm not fully versed in terms of the sort of laws and requirements you're talking about in terms of active accounts. Look, with us under current sort of operations, we won't close an account even if it's been dormant for a few years. Now, certainly we recommend that if you're going to stay in the crypto space and do well in the space, that you stay a bit more active when it comes to at least being aware of what your portfolio is doing. We consider active on our end in terms of reporting and things of that nature to be quarterly. So, once every sort of 3 or 4 months. But ultimately, I'm not fully across these new regulations or laws around requiring clients to be active. I would say that it would be pretty unlikely that we would close accounts if you're not active. But again, it would depend on, who knows what laws and regulations will get passed, as Hulk is saying. So certainly I would encourage you to remain as active as possible, but don't feel like if you're not trading, every so often that your account will be closed. That's certainly not the case on our end. So it just depends on, look, we have clients that will hold their assets and want to hold them for years, and that's fine. But we very much recommend that they have those touch points with their broker, because look, there's probably going to be a beneficial time for them to either enter or exit the market again. And if they're going to hold those assets for a really long period of time, they at least want to be informed as to when that best time may be. So I would say sort of on our end, in terms of how we report things, an active user on our end is 3 or 4 months, every 3 or 4 months executing trade.
Yeah, that's kind of what Daniel Garcia here said. Just to be safe, I do a trade every quarter. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to comment, and this is Crypto Hawk comment, not a Caleb Brown comment. So we have separate things. Me personally, I'm telling my Crypto Hawk fans, this has nothing to do with Caleb Brown. You want your Caleb Brown account to the lawmakers to look like it's active. So you better make it look like you're doing something. Um, I don't know, 1 month, if you let 2 months go. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for how often should you trade. At least every 3 months at a fucking minimum. But let me tell you something. A lawmaker is going to look at an account and determine, is this person trading? They might do this. They might have an, I'm telling you, these lawmakers are crooks. They might say, what does the average trader do? And then they look at an account. Well, this person's not even near average at all. I'm just telling you, whatever your comfort level is, even if you, I don't know, just, I know that the governments are going to try to start shutting down accounts that appear that they're not being used, or this person doesn't trade enough. I don't know whatever that means, but just you got to be comfortable with whatever your business is. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. All right. Um, Let me take one last look, and then I think that'll be it. Let's see, ask about. Okay, last question. Here's the last one. Strong SHA, SHX. I think that's Stronghold, and then IOTA. Are you ever going to carry those again?
I'll need to look into it. I thought we do list IOTA. I could be wrong about that. That may just have limited. You may be only able to sell it or withdraw it through us. Stronghold is one that always gets brought up, and it is something that we are always looking at avenues to list it. We've just found that there's difficulty when it comes to getting enough liquidity for it, given the size of or the demand of people that want to purchase it. There's just not a lot of liquidity in the market for it. So Stronghold is one that we are, I would say, weekly reviewing to see whether there's other liquidity providers or OTC desks we can use to get that sufficient liquidity to list it. But also, yeah, we want to make sure that if we're going to offer it, that we can custody it safely for clients. So look, Stronghold is very much one we're always reviewing constantly. IOTA is one that we did list. The reason that it's probably gone to limited functionality again is around the liquidity aspect. But I'll have another look into that and inquire with our operations team and get back to you guys.
All righty, then I think that'll be the end of the program. Jim, is it okay on your end that we end this? Because we've been doing this for about an hour, and now we're starting to get a lot of repeat questions. So these are people that just came in. So,
Yeah, of course. I would just say, well, firstly, thanks again for having me on. For anyone where your question didn't get answered, I did put my email in the chat. You might just have to scroll up. Please feel free to reach out and email me if you've got a question that we didn't cover. But ultimately, look, we'll probably try and do these again every couple of weeks. So if you do have a question the next couple of weeks or so, I will be on again and I can answer those questions for you. But also, if you have an account, that's where you can speak to your broker as well, and they can answer those questions for you. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and looking forward to it again.
all right, Jim, see you maybe in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Okay, I believe the show is over.